dusty wind rolled across the plains as the evening sun burned gold over the horizon, spilling long shadows across the crooked street of Dust Creek. The air smelled of whiskey, gunpowder, and regret, the kind of scent that lingered after too many promises were broken. Clara May stood in front of the saloon door, hands clenched at her sides, her heart pounding beneath a faded blue dress that had once been her mother's. She hadn't meant for things to go this far. She'd only wanted to buy her horse back. But fate, it seemed, had a cruel sense of humor. The auctioneer's gavel came down with a thud that echoed through her bones. "Sold!" he barked, his voice loud enough to drown out the murmurs of the crowd. And when Clara turned, she saw him, Caleb Rourke, the tall rancher from the North Ridge, standing calm as the mountain he came from. He didn't smile, didn't even nod, just tipped his hat once as if to say, "It's done." She froze where she stood. "You paid for me," she said, her voice trembling, but laced with the fire she'd learned to carry since her father's death. "Now take it off." The crowd went silent. Someone coughed. The piano stopped mid-note inside the saloon. Caleb didn't flinch. He looked at her with eyes like storm clouds, calm but dangerous. "Darlin'," he said slowly, voice rough from years of dust and distance, "I paid to save you, not to claim you." But Dust Creek didn't care for explanations. To them, it was simple. She'd been bid on, bought, and saved by the richest man in 3 counties. The whispers started before the dust even settled. He bought her. He owns her. The rancher took himself a wife tonight. Caleb knew what they'd say, and he didn't bother correcting them. Words were like wind, hard to catch, impossible to stop. He simply walked over, offered his coat, and said quietly, "Come on." "You can't stay here." Clara hesitated. Her pride screamed to refuse him. But the outlaw standing near the edge of the crowd, Jed Mallory, had other plans. He was the reason she'd been there in the first place, the reason her father's horse had been stolen and sold, the reason she'd been backed into this trap. Jed's eyes were cold, a cruel grin spreading as he tipped his hat toward her. "Looks like you got yourself a new owner, sweetheart," he drawled. Something inside her broke then, not from fear, but from fury. She lifted her chin, grabbed Caleb's coat, and followed him out of the square before the laughter could follow her. They rode in silence. The plain stretched endless and empty beneath the twilight sky. Every hoofbeat sounded like a heartbeat, steady, stubborn, refusing to stop. Caleb's ranch sat against the edge of the mountains, wide and quiet. When they arrived, he helped her down without a word. She pulled away from his hand, refusing the help she secretly needed. "You didn't have to do that," she said finally. "I had it handled." He gave her a long, unreadable look. "I saw how you had it handled," he replied. "Mallory would have dragged you off by nightfall." Her face flushed with anger. "You think I'm some helpless girl?" "I've been taking care of myself since my father died." "I don't doubt that," he said simply. "But a woman shouldn't have to fight alone." That silenced her. She turned away, staring at the wide stretch of land before her. The ranch was beautiful. Rows of fencing, golden fields, and the distant shimmer of a river. But she felt out of place there, like a storm cloud over a still sky. He showed her to a small cabin near the main house. "You can stay here," he said. "No one comes this far without my say-so." "You'll be safe." "And what'll the town say?" she asked, bitterness in her tone. "That you bought yourself a servant? Or a wife?" He didn't answer right away. "They can say what they like," he said at last. "The truth doesn't change for gossip." That night, Clara couldn't sleep. The wind howled outside, rattling the window panes like old bones. She sat by the fire, staring at the coat he'd given her. It still smelled of smoke and saddle leather, a scent oddly comforting. She hated that it made her feel safe. In the morning, she found him in the stables, tending to a sick colt. His hands were steady, his movements sure. He barely looked up when she walked in. "There's coffee on the stove," he said quietly. "You look like you could use some." She bristled. "I'm not some charity case." He met her eyes then, those steady, piercing eyes that saw straight through the walls she built. "Didn't say you were." Days turned into weeks. The townsfolk whispered, as they always did. Every trip to the general store felt like walking through fire. The stares, the smirks, the knowing looks. But Caleb never flinched. When someone called her the rancher's girl, he simply said, "She's her own person." Still, the bond between them deepened in the quiet moments, over coffee, over chores, over the soft murmur of a world trying to make sense of what they, outsiders,